there's nothing like me watching a French language film with English subtitles and me coming out of it thinking, I can speak French. I'm understanding all of this.
I know all of the French.
I have French perfectly inside me, and it's just not unlocked. And I'm like, of course I understand everything. And then I go around my flat. I'm like, sacre bleu, le pain au chocolat, oui, oui.
Oh, really? Is that the extent? Could you give me one sentence in full French?
Yeah, of course.
Go on then.
I can give you my French oral from GCSE.
I beg your pardon?
It was like,
Sorry,
I think I had to return a pair of trousers because there was something wrong with them. So it was like walking like shling. I really committed. I like stood up. It was like bonjour, monsieur, and the examiner was like oui bonjour, and I was like ça va? And he was like
Qu'est-ce que le fuck avec my trousers?
I was like le pantalon c'est trop grand pour moi.
Too big for you.
Yeah, may I? And I was like,
unlikely.
Yeah. Hello. They're a bit too small.
Did you do the? If I was the examiner, I would have done the. I would have Liam Neeson you, like the Ricky Gervais thing. I would have gone. Wasn't here.
You got a receipt?
I was at the doctor's.
Un billet, s'il vous plaît.
I have AIDS. Yeah, I thought you might. Yeah.
My wife just died.
One of the funniest sketches of all time.
From someone who isn't funny, like as per the sketch.
Yes, Liam Neeson. Yeah, Stone Cold. Yeah. I've played it. You see, I'm making lists. I'm always making lists
to do comedy. All right, yeah.
When I got the role of Oscar Schindler.
He's always making lists. You're not sure the Holocaust is a good...
Then how's he get away with it?
Yeah.
I have I've just taught myself. I did French for 9 years at school. So I didn't do very well.
Yeah.
But then I just taught myself retrospectively to learn one sentence as a sort of get out of jail free card in case I, lost in the bureaucracy of the French landscape and some person comes up to me and goes, où est le billet? Or something like that.
Yeah.
I can just go, je suis désolé. Je voudrais parler avec toi en français, mais mon français est assez mauvais. Parlez-vous anglais,
I'm very
s'il vous
sorry,
plaît?
but my English is not very good. My
Exactly.
French is
That's
not very
respectful.
good.
And then they'll turn around and go, "Are you English? Of course."
But you said a perfectly French sentence of my French isn't very good, which is quite confusing. It's like me saying, "Sorry, mate, I don't speak any English."
I know, in perfect.
Yeah.
Excuse me, just I hate to trouble
all
you.
the little you should no speaky français.
And I just get that. And every time I say that to a French person, they're like, "Oh, c'est la pas mal."
Yeah. But you ever have that? You watch subtitles, you're like, "Oh,
yeah.
I understand."
I
this.
can do more I think it's the equivalent to like, do you ever when you go on like a holiday and in the first 6 hours, you're like, I could move here. You know, when you have that, when you like go somewhere nice, and you're like, am I going to move here? Am I going to? And then like day 3, you're like, oh no. And that's the same thing you've had. You're like, can I speak French? No, you can't.
Bonjour, madame.
I have one of those things in my head which is like separate to that.
A tumour.
No, a brain. No, that's dark.
Yeah,
I say that.
I know.
Tap the wood. No, do you ever have that thing where
it was George's last episode?
Don't. You know how I have my mind palace.
Yes.
And I keep all the dates and stuff, and you will sometimes will just look at me and like be like, George.
Yeah.
I think sometimes my mind palace gets a bit dusty because I've had a
cobwebs.
scene in my head from something. I can't locate it. And I've had this before, but I've eventually got it. Yeah, I've got a specific scene from a comedy, and I don't know what it's from.
You have parts of the memory, but not the full amount.
Yeah.
You're like, I know this is a thing from somewhere.
To give you context, last year, it wasn't even last year, it was a couple of weeks ago, I was on the tube, and this is before Succession came back, but I had this just phrase out of nowhere, part of my brain, like someone at the back of a festival crowd shouted out a quote from something, and I didn't know where it was from. So the back of my mind went, read Plato, and I was like, what's that from? What's that from? And it took me half an hour.
Grab it. What's it from? God damn it.
And then I think I actually gave up and I Googled it, and it was from Succession. Anyway.
Oh, right, okay.
Back to the present. So, James, help me locate this. I think it's from a comedy. I don't know whether it's from a TV series or a film. I don't know whether it's British or American. I don't know whether it's like a cutaway gag or part of a main thing. But the joke is in it that
Everyone listening, get your pen and paper out.
The guy doesn't want to have children, and he's scared at the prospect of having children. He's not a father. He's a bit more of a wild character. And there's a bit where he puts his genitalia in front of a microwave, a cooking microwave.
I haven't seen it.
And he's like, does someone know that? You don't see anything naughty. You don't see any naughty bits. But the joke maybe it's
trying
part of
to
a
microwave
montage.
his
Is it like
sperm, yeah.
he's like Jesus Christ? He I think he
Yeah.
even puts his leg up against the table. He like hugs the microwave to his crotch.
Yeah.
I know that's from something, but I have no idea what it is.
Nothing comes to mind.
Jesus. Oh God, I hope it's from something. Otherwise, my
Maybe
mind
it's
is so
pure
cluttered.
Inception, and you just like Leonardo DiCaprio and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are in there trying to plant the seed, and you've woken up and you're like, what is
And
this?
tomorrow, I'm like, I need to
Dissolve my father's company.
marry the head of the microwave division at Samsung.
Yeah.
Samsung made microwaves, right?
Yeah,
This
they do
isn't an
fridges,
advert,
microwaves,
so-
yeah.
Anyway,
Use discount code. Want to get rid of your sperm?
there you go. French
one day.
and microwaves for the beginning of the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to PULP
If you're
Kitchen.
here, if you're a new listener, welcome. We don't always talk about French and microwaves and crotches, but here we are.
72.
We are episode 72. That's a big grown-up number. That's a big
Big.
boy number.
Yeah.
That's like you've seen some things.
Some films. Maybe.
We have seen some films. Some of which,
Speaking of which.
we're going to talk today. It has been one of those weeks where, unfortunately, I've not been able to catch anything. But James, God bless you, you've been able to catch not one, but two films,
Yeah.
which we're going to talk about thusly. James, just some news that's happened in the time since we've been recording is that you may have seen this big news that Harry Potter is coming back in the form of a TV series. It's being remade as 7 seasons long treatment of the original books. We're going to get an entirely new cast, an entirely new vision, but Harry Potter, the stories of those books are returning to the screen in the form of a television series that will go out on. It's not called HBO Max anymore. It's called Max, which is the merger of HBO Max and Discovery Plus into one platform.
Didn't we say they were going to start getting consolidated into fewer things?
you
They
called
all
it.
cannot live at once.
Exactly. So there you go. Yes, you are a much bigger Harry Potter fan and have a much closer connection to the IP than I do. How do you feel about that?
Why?
Well, I think that's pretty obvious.
To make loads of money.
Well, no, but okay.
Here's the thing.
Let me give you the pro argument from a non-Potter fan,
Okay, yeah.
because I don't care either way, frankly, right? That's no disrespect to Harry Potter. I just really, it's not my thing. You're sitting on an IP that has been very, very, successful, and you tried to break out with the Fantastic Beasts thing. It didn't really work. Why wouldn't you? In the time, look at what's happened in the years since those films came out. The streaming version of storytelling and the epic scope of storytelling, Game of Thrones, etc., has massively doubled. Expanded. Been born, and Amazon go off and make their own Lord of the Rings show. Why can't? If you're Warner Brothers, which is who owns the property, right? And you're sitting on Warner Brothers don't have. They do have DC, don't they? Sorry, but Warner Brothers, I don't know how much IP
It'll
they
be
have.
one of their biggest IPs.
But if you're sitting on Harry Potter, well, there's only so many things you can do with that. So maybe they just.
I'll tell you why you, as a non-Potterhead, should care, right?
But I'm just playing devil's advocate. Go on,
Like
then.
if there is, I'm not saying they're tight for money, but if there are a finite amount of ways they can allocate their money, and doing 10 years worth of Harry Potter TV series will represent a significant portion of their output, wouldn't it be better to invest in a different, even if it was Harry Potter, a different part of that series or a different IP or show entirely, than not feed you something where we know exactly how this story goes. Unlike the new Game of Thrones show, no one is going to be sitting watching that show, discussing and wondering about what's going to happen next. There's going to be nothing shocking.
Such a good
Everyone
point.
is just going to sit there with their arms folded, saying what they did or didn't do compared to the films and the books. What a cursed way to
Although-
spend 10 years of production.
Could you say that about Game of Thrones, or is that not because they hadn't finished the books?
Exactly. Like Game of Thrones really decided to do its own thing. Maybe this Harry Potter series will do its own thing.
But it's interesting in the context because last week when we talked about Disney, doing expanding the world of Star Wars and going back 1,000 years before the events, you kind of think, why aren't they doing that with this?
Well, the obvious thing for me with Harry Potter is you do Ilvermorny, which is the American Hogwarts.
Right,
That
yeah.
you leave your lovely, twinkly British Hogwarts that looks like sort of Eton and Oxford, and we all love it. And the films aren't perfect, but we love them.
Yeah.
They're cozy. Like, why touch that?
I know what you mean.
You take that and you do the US office. You go to Ilvermorny and you do your own thing. And you don't have to use the visual language for Hogwarts, really, because you can recreate it entirely, because, of course, the Americans would have
That's
done it different.
really-
You touched on it. Like, it was mentioned as a thing in Fantastic Beasts. It would have mass appeal in America, because it's like everyone wants to know how the American high school.
We do.
That's such an obvious idea. All its rules and just like you would like I've seen the picture they presented is with Harry Potter in the same logo, the exact same castle, because they've created all of these assets. They've got the Warner Brothers studio tour. They're not going to redo it. And it's the most cynical thing of like I wasn't expecting Harry Potter, one of the largest entertainment IPs of all time, to just stop.
You're absolutely
when it's $1 billion. They could easily make $1 billion a year like Marvel did if they had the output. I didn't expect it to go away, but no one wanted them to just do the books again.
I think that's completely fair. And actually, I was playing devil's advocate before, but I think you're right. You got to think
rather they do something else.
Put it this way: that is the third. You got to look at it as like the third iteration of Harry Potter.
Yeah,
you had the book craze.
Yeah,
which then was not manipulated is the wrong word, but then taken and fueled the second wind, which was the films. But
or will be the fourth, because then you had Fantastic Beasts.
Yes, I suppose you're right. But yeah, I see. Why couldn't they have just expanded? And why would they not
do the other thing? And it just means that like nobody has anything to compare it to. You can completely surely for J.K. Rowling it's a much more, because she's producing it. It's a way more interesting intellectual exercise to properly flesh that out.
But also, wouldn't you have? She
doesn't need the money.
We're going to have eras of so years ahead of people going, oh yeah, Harry Potter. Well, I meant the new one, not the old one.
The kids will grow up on it. And
or wouldn't you? I mean, sorry, I don't know.
And I'll be
I
there.
Can't
remember my kids. Oh, the classics were better.
Why couldn't they have done a TV series where like they get like Neville Longbottom back or something like that? Like get some of the old. I don't know what happens, but like
there's talk. There've been a lot of talks of bringing them back for the Cursed Child to do a film.
I thought that was going to happen. Yeah,
it sounds like it's going to happen. I think they've got to get Daniel Radcliffe on board, basically.
They just pull up the money truck. I mean, I'm sure. Like, if I was Daniel Radcliffe, absolutely. Like, name your price. Yeah. Absolutely, name your price.
That'd be $100 million paycheck for Daniel Radcliffe.
That would be a huge thing. But then, like, this other thing compromises it. Let's see if it actually goes ahead, because I can.
You're gonna recast we love those actors and those kids. They're like we grew up with them. It's like recasting my brother.
Do you know? Just thinking about.
Do you know what I mean? My cousin.
Yeah, you don't have a brother.
No. That's Harry Potter.
Just because it has actually reminded me of Rings of Power. And you know the thing about Rings of Power is that we gave it, quite, balanced but fairly lukewarm.
Had a coziness to it that really gave it a lot
but we
of
were pretty fairly lukewarm on it ultimately when we reviewed it 6 months ago. In the time since I've finished that show, I've watched so many fantastic TV shows that I look back and I think, I'm just sorry, you can't get away with mediocrity at $500 million, right? You can't be the most expensive series.
Well, viewership-wise, it hit.
Yeah, no, but fine. But okay, but in terms of quality, I don't think it was good. So
and also,
I don't think I'm going to continue with that.
Even Rings of Power, I thought was a little bit too close. Sorry. Was a little bit too closely aligned to to Sauron and leading into that. Like it was like we were very attached to the plot of the start of Lord of the Rings. We're waiting for it. Yeah. And the series really lent into this who's Sauron thing. And I'm like, really, it's completely swallowing the whole show alive of who Sauron is towards the end. That nothing else really matters. Also, I have one more thought. There are so many parts of when we watch the films of the book. The books are obviously 400 page books. We look at the films and go, oh, they didn't flesh out that detail and they missed that. And I'm like, yeah, because the books are long and the films, all of them are 2.5 hours. So I think it's a fair, compression of that story. There's loads there and I can read the books if I want to. I don't, of course you can flesh it out and make a TV series, but will that actually make for entertaining episodes all the way through? I don't necessarily think so.
Anyway, that's the Harry Potter news. What do you guys think about it? If you have any thoughts, let us know at hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We are going to be talking about One Fine Morning that you've seen, which is directed by Mia Hanson-Løve.
It is.
I've seen one Mia Hanson-Løve film, which I believe was Bergman Island.
That's the last one.
Did you watch that?
No, I didn't.
I hate to say it, but that is one of those films that went right through me. It did. When you finish a film and you go, well, I sat there and I watched it begin, and I watched the middle bit, and I watched the end, but it did absolutely nothing. Yeah. It's like it didn't exist. It went through my mind, didn't go through any process at all. And out
someone with a gun is like, what's it about?
I couldn't tell you. I know Tim Roth's in it. Anyway,
and that's fine.
But over to you, James.
One Fine Morning, or as the opening title sequence of this film says, Un beau matin. Which I would translate...
A beautiful morning.
Exactly. So I would think morning. A beautiful morning, right? Whereas in the UK, a fine morning can mean, it's a fine morning.
No,
or it could be, my captain, it is a fine morning today at sea.
I think,
fine morning.
I think a fine morning in that context is, that's the best kind of morning you're going to get.
One fine morning.
Yeah.
It could be just...
It's quite poetic, one fine morning. Isn't that kind of like, isn't that one of the last lines of The Great Gatsby? And one day, one fine morning, we beat on.
Now you say
paddles back against the tide, yeah.
No Gatsby references in this. Instead, we've got Léa Seydoux. Léa Seydoux, who's fantastic in this. She's really good. She plays a single mother called Sandra, who is in the process of, with her sister and her mother, coming to terms with the fact that her father suffers from a degenerative brain disorder. It's not quite Alzheimer's. It's something that I think was called Benson's syndrome, where he has trouble stringing sentences together. He is visually able to see but cannot make sense of what he sees. Oh. And, there's this whole process of trying to figure out what to do with him. He can't be left alone in his flat anymore. One of the opening scenes is her going to visit him, and he can't figure out how to open the door. And when she sees him, he's very confused. And he's an old professor who's got his entire flat is covered floor to ceiling with books of great philosophy, literature. And he was known for his bright brain, but obviously that has now sort of completely deteriorated. And it's this really sort of sad, underexplored idea in life of what to do with someone who is disappearing in front of you and where you put them. And the reality is, unless you're extremely wealthy, you often have to go into living conditions which aren't that good. You're sort of, in a lot of ways, sending them away so you can live on and get on with your own life. Whilst that's happening, Sandra comes into contact with an old friend named Clément. Spelled Clement, but Clément.
Yeah, Clément,
yeah. Who's keeping it also French for you. Who is a married man who's somewhat separated from his wife, and she starts developing a romantic relationship with him. It is complicated because he very much still lives with his wife, and he has a kid, but they have this sort of amazing chemistry.
Sorry, this is Léa Seydoux developing a relationship. Léa Seydoux is single.
Léa Seydoux is single, implied that she's widowed, but not spoken on that much. There is this idea that she has lost something and has closed up emotionally a large part of herself, both due to a lost relationship, the way in which she mentally copes with the situation going on with her father. And this new relationship that she develops almost is like unlocking a new part of her, which brings a lot of pain, it brings a lot of sadness, but also an incredible amount of joy and ecstasy. And there's loads of French lovemaking in this, like lots of French kissing where like you see the tongues, it's also very French. And this is very like in the deep throes of ecstasy when he says to her something on the lines of, how was this body only just awakened? Like, how has it been asleep for so long? I really, really liked it. I think it never really had the film doesn't try to leave you with a really obvious rounding point of catharsis where you go, that was the right thing to do, or that was the right way to deal with this very complicated situation. It's kind of often bittersweet, when you're dealing with someone in your family who has a degenerative brain condition, whether that's Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, you're watching them disappear in front of you. And that's very complicated because you're almost learning to say goodbye before they have. And you often have this feeling where you have this intense amount of sadness overriding you, but you're also feeling happiness and joy in other ways. And it can lead you to feeling two very different emotions at the same time. And I think that's why this film leaves you with this weird, somber, bittersweet element. It makes it feel really true to life, a really honest portrayal of what life's really like. Mia Hanson-Løve had said that she had someone in her family and she had gone through this whole process of what to do with someone who is in that position. You can really tell it comes from personal experience. There's no sort of romanticized way that it comes with the solution of how you deal with this. And it reminds you in life, there's often never a perfect way to emotionally deal with this, especially with everything that's gone on in your life before. And Léa Seydoux manages to capture completely opposite emotions at the same time. Wow. Because of this situation with Clément, who's, trying to figure out how he separates from his wife, he at one point says, listen, it's too much, I can't see you at least for a little while. And she essentially sort of breaks up with her. And Léa Seydoux spends a scene where she goes to look through a home where her father could be, and it's got horrible, it's like an inner city urban care home. It's not very nice. It's like a grungy terrace. There's loads of people wandering around who are sort of not very well in the head, and she feels really rotten about it. And she's sad in the bus on the way home, and she's leaning against the window, and it sees her reflection in the window. And she gets a text from Clement being like, in French, it's something like "Je deviens fou sans toi," which is like, I would go crazy without you. I can't bear to be without you. And she starts crying in this happy way that is sad and happy, and it's showing like two different. Somehow the reflection was able to show two different emotions running at the same time. And I'm like, this is such an interesting duality of how you would feel with like ongoing pain and ongoing joy in the start of a new relationship that's complicated. And I think it's really interesting. It's beautifully shot. And
sorry, I've seen pictures of it. It looks like it's shot on film, right? Or
shot on
35 mil, like romance,
glowy, and there's often sort of a very sort of plain, uncontrasted look where it's sort of very matter of fact in its filming. Often, a lot of it's shot inside her apartment. And Sandra also has a young daughter who, you know, is sort of also getting to terms with the fact that there's a new man being introduced. And she got great chemistry with her co-star, who are really, really good together. And yeah, just a really interesting, thought-provoking. I like that it never really tried to tie a nice even bow on it at the end. And it said, I just came out with some really interesting thoughts, and I thought Léa Seydoux was an absolute powerhouse.
Classic European indie art house film. That the so feelings are raw and complicated, and it's not defined. Do you think that you could say that, like Worst Person in the World last year, this takes the kind of conventions and superficial elements of a romance rom-com film, but explores it in its own way, and it breathes fresh new life to it?
I'd say Worst Person in the World was more more outwardly expressive than this one is.
Oh, this is
in terms of the way, like Worst Person in the World had those sequences.
Yes,
and I think it really sort of I don't know, like the score in this is very minimal. It really only touches it, whereas Worst Person in the World, it's much more sober. This is really, really swell. Like, this is dealing with like medical and care home, and like, a lot of the time she's packing up her dad's apartment like he's died, like you would with a sister, like he's died, but he hasn't died. He's just moved on, and there's so many moments she's trying to speak to him, and it's kind of interesting because I'm watching it with subtitles, and the subtitles aren't making any sense, and I realise that's on purpose because his trail of thought is completely on. So I was a bit like, huh, what? And I realised, it's not.
Okay, One Fine Morning is out now. If you've seen it or are going to see it, let us know your thoughts at hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We'd love to hear them, and we'll read them out on the show.
How much Dracula do you know, but have you encountered in your life?
Good question, because it's one of those ever-present figures like Frankenstein.
In the sort of as old as cinema itself, Dracula.
Absolutely,
really.
Yeah. Nosferatu, of course.
Yes.
And I eagerly await Robert Eggers' Nosferatu with Willem Dafoe. Oh my God. I've never read the Bram Stoker novel. I saw a really rubbish TV series, BBC TV series version in like 2005. I know there was a very popular, quite modern, fun take in like 2019 on the BBC with Klaus Bang as Dracula. That was Mark Gatiss wrote it, I think, or Stephen Moffat. That's Van Helsing. I can't forget Van Helsing.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman, and Dracula's played by Richard Roxburgh, who in that period of time was always specifically early noughties villains.
Yes,
because he was in Moulin Rouge, and then Moulin Rouge, he talks like that, and then he was just in like Mission Impossible 2, and that.
I bet Van Helsing really doesn't hold up.
I don't think it held up at the time, but now I think it's. Like
it'd always be funny to see it for what it is.
Maybe
like
that's one thing we have to do sometime, just to rewatch of that and the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh my God, League of Extraordinary.
I just see green. I just see murky green when I think of those. Anyway, limited, but obviously I know about him.
Yeah, I think I studied Gothic literature and English GCSE, and we were doing Dorian Gray, and we were meant to read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but I didn't. But the English teacher was like, oh, this is seminal. I'm going to put on Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman playing Dracula and Keanu Reeves doing and it was almost amazing. My English teacher said, this is a good film, but it has the worst acting performance of all time. I'm not underselling this. It is the worst acting performance of all time. We were all like collectively laughing as a class watching it, but that is Keanu Reeves aside. A really sort of haunting and terrifying.
Worth seeing
Anthony Hopkins in there as well.
Oh, really? Was he playing Van Helsing?
No, yes. Yes. Not seen it.
Because people forget before Hugh Jackman, Van Helsing was an old man.
Sir Anthony Hopkins did.
I also, just on that, just to say, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
200-year late hot take, but slaps. It's a really good book.
1890 something?
No, Frankenstein was 1820.
Whoa.
Yes.
Oh, maybe the film I'm thinking. No.
Wait.
No.
The book of Frankenstein was written in like 1820. The film of Frankenstein, the Hollywood version, was like 1930s. With Boris Karloff.
That's how much we know.
Anyway, Dracula, we digress. Go.
It has always been there. Here we have Renfield. If you didn't know, Renfield in the law is a lawyer who comes to Dracula's house seeking to get a deal for the land that Dracula lives on. And of course, Dracula bites him and snares him into mortality, and he becomes his servant or slave, basically. And he is tasked with helping Dracula live eternally by bringing him bodies to feed on. Thus, this endless cycle of abuse and torment, and he wants to leave but is in this abusive relationship. And you've got this is sort of the seminal joke of Renfield, is you've got a modern day group of people who are in abusive relationships, destructive relationships, and who stumbles into one but Renfield, who's trying to take our modern sensibilities and how we know toxic relationships and gaslighting, and you apply that, to the Renfield Dracula scenario. So I think that is a solid idea for a comedy sketch.
Yeah.
An SNL bit.
Yeah.
I do not think it sustains a feature-length film, especially when you make a full-blown slasher gore action comedy,
studio film,
a real studio film. You've got Nicolas Cage playing Dracula, right?
The main selling point.
The main selling point. And this man does not do half-measure performances.
Of course.
You give a character thick and bright and full, like Dracula, to Nicolas Cage. I watched the whole thing. All I could think, I was so distracted because it's not that great. I was just thinking, God, could you imagine like a gothic Nicolas Cage Dracula? How fucking cool that would be.
Not a postmodern, ironic, kind of funny one.
Yeah. So like there is like that joke of like Nicolas Cage crashes the meeting and the guy running the meeting is like, we're clearly dealing with something more than narcissism here. Like it's a little bit funny and that's it. You got Awkwafina, who I actually really like in this. She's funny, and Ben Schwartz. Awkwafina plays a cop who's uncovering like a gang corruption thing at the police, and it all kind of intertwines with Renfield. Ben Schwartz is in it, who has some funny quips. The action part of it feels really, really misplaced and really, really odd. It's really violent, right? We got arms coming off, decapitation, guts spilling out of intestines. It's a 15, but it's probably as violent as you can get before it goes a bit higher. And it just didn't, like, they're sort of like good action scenes for a different film. But for what it was trying to do, when the action came, I was like, it's just violent for being violent. Yeah. There's no like character reason why I should enjoy this violence. It's not funny violence, so I'm not like, oh my God, so gory, at least in my eyes. And it's just a really strange film that feels like it's been sort of spliced together. I did hear things that it was meant to be part of the Dark universe pre-Tom Cruise's The Mummy.
Wow.
So when they were assembling to do Dark, and then it got reworked into an action comedy to stand alone from the Universal Monsterverse. And it's kind of manifest as this. You've got Nicholas Hoult playing Renfield, who I actually think is okay. I don't think him and Nicolas Cage are comedically aligned.
No,
do you know what I mean? They don't have good chemistry, or they're trying to achieve different things in the scene. I do like him, and I think he's got a sort of funny, slightly repressed thing. And this is a moment where he tries to like, it sounds so dumb, like give himself a makeover and like add more color into his wardrobe. Like, it's just weird. It feels like multiple visions been put into one. It wasn't that funny. The action didn't do anything for me, and there was so much of it. And when you read the plot on paper, you're like, yeah, that's kind of like when I went through it in my head, like all the way beginning to end. I'm like, God, what a really sort of silly script to sort of make into a movie. Shame Nicolas Cage can't have been given Dracula to do something real, because he would have gone. He did go for it. Yeah. He's pretty. The makeup's pretty good when he's like only half fully formed. Yeah. He's still trying to get blood to like reform himself. And I'm like, this looks terrifying. And there's this moment where he's in this throne. Imagine the throne from Game of Thrones with the swords, but they're all sacks of blood, and there's like 200 of them. Whoa. And he's sitting there like decrepit in his chair, and he's just being fed by like all of this blood, but it's not pure blood, so it's not killing him. And I'm like, that's a cool image.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is going for it. Just the film is just, whatever.
Oh, that's such a shame. I mean, to be honest with you, my warning bells, I think I said this before, is when I realised that they were going to do a big action studio comedy. And I was like, oh, with this... If you do Nick Cage as Dracula, that's so weird, and like you've got to commit to that. I look at this and I feel like they thought, well, we'll just slap Nick Cage in it. That's an interesting enough idea. We'll fill it, puff it out with some comedy.
Nicolas Cage is a meme, right?
That's only a 90-minute film, isn't it?
It's
a long 90
minutes. Yeah,
is that a long 90?
Yeah, a long 90. I checked my watch many times.
And also I have a thing about. I think we've said this before. Films with characters' names that aren't famous people.
Yeah.
So. Calling your film...
No one knows a Renfield.
What the fuck is a Renfield?
No,
excuse my language, but like, what? I don't know what that means. John Carter, what's that?
Yeah.
You know? We've seen what's happened.
Yeah.
I unfortunately, this is going to like crash and burn. But yeah, also you say Aquafina. I say Awkwafina, like she's awkward. You say Aquafina like she lives under the sea.
Aquafina.
Yeah. Basically, so do you think it's one of those films that in 2-3 years people go, whoa, oh my God, Renfield?
Probably.
Like you said about 65.
Probably, yeah.
People go, oh, what? Renfield, what is that? Yeah.
It's like, if I was to be really cynical, you could look at this film in a vacuum and God, look what modern Hollywood humor and studio handling has done to an incredibly interesting IP. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you've got a really incredible Gothic painting and someone's just spray paint all over it and put it out there and called it art. I think that's very cynical. It's very cynical, but it's like if you forgot about all the other films that have been made in the last 20 years and you just showed someone from 60 years ago, whatever, just a long time ago, this film, they'd be like, God, is that what the films are like in the 2020s? I'm not sure. Is that meant to be funny for you guys?
If you've seen Renfield and you agree or disagree with James, maybe you think it's the best thing you've seen this year, and maybe you've already forgotten it, write into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and let us know your thoughts.
George, it's time to go through some of the emails that we get sent every week to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We're getting so many in now. Every time we start this section, we have a look and we go, Jesus Christ, we've got too many.
It's a lovely problem to have.
It's fantastic.
We do not stop sending them people.
And they're all fantastic.
They are all fantastic. And we do apologise if we are a little bit late.
And I'm sure the listeners that have sent emails that eventually get them read out will know that there's like a 2-week delay because we don't want to miss them.
No, we don't.
If they're good questions, they're good questions. But it's a reminder that if you are sending an email, make it good.
Yes.
We might have to start cutting some if they're not good.
I know, and that's just production values, I'm afraid.
Production, guys. Tough times.
What do we got first?
Friend of the show, Mark, writes into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and says, hello from Canada. He's written in a few times now.
Hello, Mark.
I'd like to throw my hat in the ring and be your official Canadian fan. I believe I was among your first 100 subscribers, so a long-time viewer indeed.
You were, Mark, and we see that.
We see you. We see the love. We see the love. I've been indulging in an A24 movie a night week, having recently added Green Knight, Minari, First Cow, Florida Project, and Come On to my repertoire. Florida Project was incredible. EEAAO is my favourite movie everywhere, George.
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes, and I'd love to know your thoughts on their films in general and what your favourites are. Anywho, keep up the great work, gents. You're the only podcast I keep up with. Mark.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Wow.
Okay.
He is strict. The headphones come out for Pulp Kitchen, and he throws them out the window and buys a new pair every Wednesday. I appreciate the respect.
Well, Mark, that's quite a big question you've asked then, and obviously we don't walk around with a list of A24 films in our head, but I've just pulled up a list in front of us.
Here we are.
I'm going to reel off some, and then after I finish, try and think of what your favourite could be.
Okay.
Ex Machina, Moonlight, Hereditary, Uncut Gems, The Witch, Lady Bird, Everything Everywhere, Spring Breakers, Room, Green Room, 8th Grade, The Green Knight, Under the Skin, Good Time, The Lobster, The Florida Project, Minari, Swiss Army Man, Enemy, the Denis Villeneuve film, American Honey, A Ghost Story. I could go on.
These are loads of really big films. I always think A24 has almost dwarfed its reputation from a while ago as being a very small art house indie studio. It's a massive.
Huge. They just won an Oscar. And also we're not including Euphoria and the other TV shows they're making.
Massive, high-profile, rated films. I mean, there are so many I like in there. Ex Machina is absolutely incredible.
I would say Lady Bird, I adore. I love Lady Bird. And
Florida Project, I agree with you, Mark. It's fantastic.
I would say Lady Bird.
Good Time.
8th grade.
I loved discovering Good Time. It was before we knew what the Safdie brothers were, and I was really like, holy shit, this film has a new way of talking to me.
Okay, I'd say Lady Bird, Good Time, and I will give a shout out to a film I haven't talked about very much on the show called A Ghost Story. Have you seen that?
No, but I know.
Can I give you my thing on A Ghost Story because I've never talked about it. Ghost Story is a film about grief with Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara in it, right?
Yes,
it's directed by Pete Lowry, who went on to do A Green Knight and Pete's Dragon and all that stuff. But it is, I think, honestly, one of the scariest films I've ever seen, and this is why. So, if anyone knows pictures of this film, it's got someone stood under a sheet with 2 holes cut out of it. You know, a very typical Halloween costume. So the premise is this: Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara are a couple. He's a musician. He gets killed in a car accident very early on. And the whole film's very dreamy. And he returns to the house under a bedsheet with the eyes cut out, right? That's who he is. He can't say anything. He just stands like a spirit in the house, not talking, just observing Rooney Mara as she's there grieving. And there's a scene where Rooney Mara eats an entire chocolate pie in 3 minutes. I'm talking just properly, chows down because she's grieving so much. But then time slowly...
We all have our ways.
We all have our ways. That's me before we record. Then time starts to pick up a little bit faster. And before you know it, it's a week, then a month, and Rooney Mara's moving out. And a new family are moving in. But of course, the spirit still stays there under the sheet. And you get that family, and then that family's there for a bit. And then after that, there's a house party with new people. And then time is slowly accelerating. Then there's no house there anymore. It's just a plot of land. And then after that, it becomes this sort of exploration of grief and existentialism, etc. And what you get by the end, it's only a 90-minute film, is that it's like Pete Lowry said, I'm going to make a ghost story for you. I'm gonna make a scary film for you. But instead of being peekaboo, I'm gonna give you a little jump scare. No, I'm gonna reach into your soul and remind you that we are alone, barren and godless on a rock floating in the middle of nothingness, and nothing came before us and nothing came after us. And it gets into your soul so much and haunts you. That's the thing. Pete Lowry's clearly thought, I'm going to haunt you instead of trying to scare you. And I shit you not, I got to the end of that film and I thought, that was really impressive. And when I went to bed that night, I turned off the light and I felt like I could see the sheet, the spectre of the ghost in the corner, and I had to put my light back on. And I was like, it's got in my soul. It scared me at an existential level. And I still think back. It
scared you because the ideas around it?
But the ideas in it are so bleak and huge. Existential ideas about our existence and our place in the universe, and how nothingness, futility of life, the pointlessness, and it's brilliant and so interesting, and I just gets you on edge. Worth watching. Only 90 minutes.
I'm sold. I am sold.
Thank you.
Next
Mark.
email is from Kai. He writes in, "Hi guys, hope you're well. Another one from me. My girlfriend and I are just finishing her watch of The Office US, and so I decided to go back and watch George's ranking on all 9 seasons,
yes.
which is what, second or third?
No, it was about this time last year, maybe a bit before, but yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah. Oh. But anyway, James, don't challenge me on dates.
All 9 seasons. Whilst I agreed with season 8 being the worst, I couldn't help but laugh at every single line James Spader's character says. Some of my favourite lines include, "They never have improved on the Oreo, have they? Why is Jim treating the magician poorly?"
Yeah.
And of course, I am the fucking Lizard King.
Yeah.
There's just something magical about his delivery, and it makes me wish James Spader was in more, and makes me want to go back and reevaluate the second Avengers for him alone. Anyway, my question is exactly this. What are some of your favourite guest, one-off, or short appearances from actors in an established show, excluding Phil Dunster on PULP KITCHEN? Obviously.
Hey.
Thanks, guys, and keep up the great work. P.S. How many platinum trophies does James have? I will answer that question later. Okay.
Kai, thanks for your email. Just on James Spader, first of all, I do wish James Spader was in more. He's great, but he has been doing The Blacklist for 10 years, which has been one of the most successful shows on American TV.
I always think of Bo Burnham's Inside. My mum wants to tell me about the season 6 finale of The Blacklist.
He's great. He is great in season 8 of The American Office. He's one of the few highlights, and it's not terrible, season 8, but he is really good in it. And it's funny because I remember Rainn Wilson talking about it afterwards, that actually he really struggled to have any chemistry with the rest of the cast. You've got this cast which are they've known each other for 8 years. They've got their own tricks and stuff. And James Spader comes in very much as an actor, wanting to rehearse, wanting to do things. And apparently he said at one point, "Are we going to run that through and stick to the script?" And they were like, "We stopped doing that in season 3." Yeah. So he wouldn't want to improvise and stuff. So it's a shame that environment was there, but it's great that he was still able to deliver a comedic performance outside of that. Great to see you still like the show. Do you agree, Kai, that season 3 is the best of The American Office? I think it is. And guest appearances in a TV show. Give me some, James. What do you got?
I think Brad Pitt in that episode of Friends, where he did I Hate Rachel Green Club, is one of the best Friends episodes of all time. Oh, Ben Stiller in Curb is really good.
All right, okay.
With they're doing. You don't like it?
No, I love Curb, but I just can't remember Ben Stiller in it.
He was originally going to be playing. The season where he's doing the producers. Great season.
No, not seen that one.
You've not seen
that? That's the Ben Schwimmer one. David Schwimmer.
Yeah, David Schwimmer ends up replacing Ben Stiller.
Oh, really?
Ben Stiller's he's got really fun. But David Schwimmer's also brilliant in it.
I would say
it's a ridiculous season, but very funny.
I don't know if this is a guest one, but David Schwimmer. We talked about Friends last week, didn't we, with the game? David Schwimmer is really good in Band of Brothers.
Yes,
that's what I think. He's
not a guest, is he?
No, he's not a guest. He's just he's an actual cast member. I would say Liam Neeson in the Life's Too Short. I mentioned earlier.
Life's Too Short.
Liam Neeson turning up for that one sketch.
People don't talk about Life's Too Short, ever.
There you go.
But it's really funny.
Liam Neeson in that one sketch, just for that one sketch alone, is value. Done.
Who else is in Life's Too Short?
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, but there's loads.
Others.
Next up is from Sadiq. He says,
hang on. Sorry. Actually, just remember, any extras episode.
Yeah.
There's your answer. Any extras episode.
Kate Winslet's one is really good.
David Bowie.
Oh, David Bowie.
Choppy little loser.
There's a little fat man.
Yes, that's very good. I like that, Janine. David.
And by the way, platinum trophies, I have 31. I'm currently playing Dead Space Remake, but I'm not going to platinum it because it's too hard and it's too scary. Sadiq writes into the show and says, "Hello, folks. Sadiq here. I came across your podcast a couple of months ago and I haven't looked back since then. You guys You guys make loving movies so easy. You guys make loving movies so easily. Historically, I've struggled to describe my love for movies to my friends and family, but I use your podcast as the yardstick to which movie love should be measured."
Oh, I like that.
A yardstick. Love that. Thank you for what you do. I always look forward to listening to your episodes as I go through this crazy, busy world of ours. Not that you asked, but my favourite movie is The Usual Suspect. Wonder what you both think about it. Also, I think us fans should be called the Pulpettes. Cheers from Canada.
That works. I don't mind the pulpets.
But he spelt it Pulpet.
Yeah, not to be confused with the pulpit in a church.
Pulpit, or would it be like pulpets ending Pettes?
That would also work. That sounds
like dream girls, like the dreamettes.
Yeah, well, that's what we had, the kitchenettes.
Yes,
but then you just think of a kitchenette. Yeah. So the pulpet kitchenette. Keep working on them, guys. We'll
keep sending them in, and then maybe we'll get like a hot list, and then we'll spin a dreidel and decide.
A Usual Suspect, great
film,
great, solid, great ending, great, shocking.
Quite a sort of different performance from Kevin Spacey compared to everything else he's done. Like he does
the creepy, sinister guy.
Yeah,
he's creepy and sinister in most
things.
But
he has he does a different kind of delivery. I think Kevin Spacey became very. A controversial side, became very consolidated in his delivery.
Yes, you're right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas he's really experimenting with stuff.
What I like with The Usual Suspects though as well. I mean, this is probably us imposing a bit of hindsight on it, but it kind of like I'm watching it kind of crackles with that mid-90s
grungy, noirish,
new directors, independent coming through. You have your Soderberghs and your Finches, and then with this you got Bryan Singer, also controversy aside. And this is, it just has that kind of, we're going to do, the 90s was about, we're going to do crime films differently. We're going to take the films you love and we're going to do them slightly differently.
Crime is hot and sexy. We cast Brad Pitt.
This next email is from William, who says, "Hello, William here from Sittingbourne." Sittingbourne. Do I know where that is? I want to say that's in Sussex. I think the Bournes are always in
Sussex sounds familiar.
Yeah, Sittingbourne. Or was that Sissinghurst? That's not a place, that's a person.
Always specify, William.
I'm going to skip over that question, William, because that's so hard to answer, but I will read out your PPS, which is the best food in film can be found in Ratatouille, which, while great... Yes, I agree with that. Linguine! While great food can be found in various Studio Ghibli productions, and the thing I've always wanted...
the love of food too.
And everything I've always wanted to try since has been Ratatouille.
Is it cheating slightly that it's an animation and the food
is looking the most desirable it can be?
It's like, you drew the nicest meal ever, whereas there's something more
You're dealing with
powerful.
reality.
Yes, it's something more powerful.
Yeah,
about, like,
I know what you mean.
The beef sandwiches in the bear because it's been done and it's been made.
Yeah. Next email's from Aiden, who says, "Hey guys, it's Aiden again. I wrote in about a month ago and saying that I was trying to catch up, but I must admit I've been cheating and listening to your new episodes just to see if my email has been read out yet." That's absolutely fine.
That's fine.
We did read it out, but do make sure to go back and catch up on all the other ones because other people do. It's safe to say I've mostly caught up on everything that is spoiler-free so far.
Nice.
Sorry for the length of this email, but I thought I'd give you a couple of my opinions.
Yes.
I think Inglourious Basterds is Tarantino's best work. Yeah, fair enough.
Fair.
And I'm actually starring in a short film that is greatly influenced by it. I have to say, an actor. It's premiering at Folkestone Cinema in September. If you fancy a ticket, Folkestone. I thought Dungeons & Dragons was surprisingly good. I think they achieved everything that Marvel is currently missing, and I wouldn't be against them expanding the D&D universe. I do know nothing about Dungeons & Dragons lore, so I'm not sure if that influences my opinion or not.
Just quickly, I noticed a detail on the Dungeons & Dragons London bus art. It's the poster, and underneath it has written on it, "No experience necessary," underlined, which is interesting. It's like telegraphing to the audience, don't worry if you know fuck all about Dungeons & Dragons, you can just come and enjoy it. It's good fun. It's basically just a generic action thriller and you'll have fun with it. Never seen that before.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Aiden then goes on to give an interesting idea for a game, which we are going to think about and look over and we'll report back in due course. But he signs off with all the best. Aiden, sent from my Toshiba MacBook Pro Plus Exorcism watch.
I hate that it's become a thing now. Everyone's leaving. I can't tell because some people will be like, "Sent from my iPhone, I'm keeping this in."
Yeah.
And some people are just leaving it, and I take insult to every single one.
Right, you'll do next.
Next one's from Tom, who says, "Hey lads, firstly, I just want to say that I'm a big fan of the podcast. I discovered it a couple of weeks ago, and I've been driving all over the country recently, so I've had plenty of time to work my way through the back catalogue. I am picturing huge lorry with, you know, the seats that are like suspended.
Oh, really?
I'm just picturing
driving it like that.
A wheel as big as a pirate ship.
I see it in a car with you've got your hand over the steering wheel at the top.
Yeah.
And you're going past a montage of the most famous parts of the UK: Angel of the North,
Stonehenge,
the White Cliffs of Dover
Bridge. Just all of it.
Yeah. I'm thinking, wow, and just various clips of you being like, "Oh, I think Avatar too."
Guess the movie based on
the multiverse is killing me. Anyway, what does he say?
I've been trying to get back into films this year and have set myself the goal of watching 100 new films in 2023. Don't watch them while you're driving, Jesus. I've been absolutely loving some of your recommendations, so keep up the good work. I know you love the unpopular opinions, so I thought I would send in mine about The Prestige, as I know you both love the film. Brackets, spoiler warning if any listeners, watchers haven't seen it. What are you doing? Go watch it. I thought that the film completely lost its way towards the end. I understand that the film isn't really about making magic tricks. It's about obsession and the sacrifices that those 2/3 characters are willing to make. But I can't get past the fact that we spend 2/3 of the film watching some very clever people come up with even cleverer ways to create magic tricks that are grounded in reality and follow the rules of the world no one has created. Then David Bowie appears out of nowhere and suddenly creates real-life magic. I also think that Nolan did a very good job of wrapping it up in fancy paper, but ultimately the twist was he had a secret twin the whole time, which I thought felt lazy. I love all of Nolan's other work, and the majority of this film was no different, but found myself completely thrown off by this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. Loving what you're doing. Looking forward to the next episode. Thanks, Tom. P.S. Completely agree about All Quiet on the Western Front. I didn't even end up finishing the film, so I thought it was offering nothing new to the genre. George, The Prestige, defend it.
Huge spoiler warning coming up for The Prestige. Please skip forward 5-10 minutes
Please
because
don't.
we're about to rip into it in a big spoiler fashion.
If you haven't seen The Prestige, just skip ahead.
Tom, the trick impresses no one. What you do, what you use to show people or tell how you use to tell it is what impresses.
That's exactly the idea.
It's not. I mean,
I have a friend that's a magician, and every time I find out how his trick is done, I'm so disappointed. It's horrible. I contest the idea that David Bowie, you said, come up with more clever ways to create magic tricks that are grounded in reality, right? Which I agree. Then David Bowie appears out of nowhere. He doesn't appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
David Bowie, as soon as he's on screen, as soon as you walk up to that Tesla coil factory, you get the sense that there is something supernatural, otherworldly, beyond the realm of our understanding going on. And even if you don't know what it is yet, you're like, this is bigger than what we currently have access to.
Gia says at the very beginning, I've gone to Coyote Hills, or Colorado Springs, sorry. I'm thinking of Coyote Hills from There Will Be Blood. He's gone to Colorado Springs to see Tesla, so he's got this huge build-up. I can even defend the twin thing is brilliant because it's like you and Gia he says to him, like, you went to the ends of the world to get what you wanted, and like I had my whole trick the whole time. The whole secret for the Prestige is when they go and see the Asian magician, the elderly Asian magician at the beginning, remember?
Yeah.
And they're like, how does he do it? How does he get the fishbowl out? And remember, Christian Bale says, look, that's the trick. He's pretending to be old the entire time.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny. And the whole thing about...
The thing about the double birds in the beginning was
exactly.
always a clue
killing
for you.
them each time, which is the same thing with Angia's trick by the end. And Angia's thing of like, I love it. He is so obsessed and so passionate that he's broken the laws of reality. And what Nolan very strongly tries to do is establish that this is at a time when you are reaching the limits of knowledge and the limits of knowing what was capable with science. And it's like, well, wouldn't it be interesting for a moment with this uncertainty with what knowledge can do and the power it can create?
The verge of technological creation.
Why couldn't it clone someone? Why couldn't it do that? Why is it so unrealistic? And what would happen when a magician breaks forward and actually leans into science? When Michael Caine says, "Oh no, this wasn't made by a magician. This was made by a wizard."
Yeah.
This is real magic.
Yeah.
That's the supernatural kind of element into it. And you're now going to convert me.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, the more I'm
I
like,
think it's absolutely. But I want to put it on right now. I want to see that. It must be a helicopter shot that cranes in on the train, snaking around the mountain as he goes to Colorado Springs. I just love it.
You know, David Blaine does that magic trick where he sticks a spike. You want to see some magic? Where he sticks a spike through his hand. And it's this idea of the most amazing magic trick often isn't magic. It's like something unbelievable happening in front of you. I believe that he has just he's found a dead spot, or he's nursed a dead spot.
He often tells you how he does it,
And he's found that point, and he's got it so locked in his hand that he can, without damage to himself, put a spike through his hand without feeling pain. I actually don't think it's a magic trick. I think that is David Blaine just doing something incredible that has the same sense of wonder that a magic trick does, but he's just doing it for real. Yeah. And that sort of almost reinforces his other magic tricks because you might think they're real as well. Brilliant. Yeah. But, Tom, we respect your opinion completely. We just don't agree.
Sorry, mate.
Go watch The Prestige. This last email is from Michael, who says, "Hi lads, Michael again. Apologies for writing in before you've got to my previous email. I think we would have by this time got to it. I'm not sure. But having just...
Michael wrote in before, I think, about Infinity Pool.
That was it.
Yes.
But having just watched episode 71, I had to, because during a movie night with my girlfriend last week, I kid you not, she put Charlie's Angels 2 full throttle on.
Right.
It's a film she enjoys purely for nostalgia value, having watched it a lot when she was younger, despite it not exactly being the best, brackets, I'm being kind. Also has Justin Theroux doing the worst Irish accent ever seen in the movie world ever. But I was in hysterics during the Friends question at the end of the episode, and you asked, who's just watched Charlie's Angels? And I shouted, me, I have.
That is so true. You were like,
I know.
who's just watched
You must have watched it the night before. Be like, You'd be like, who else? Sorry, who else is watching Charlie's Angels?
Well done.
Your Departed stuff made me reminisce about how that film has some of the funniest movie insults ever. The highlight probably being, I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy. Wondered what some of your guys' favorite movie insults or one-liners are. I always enjoyed Buzz telling Woody, you are a sad, strange little man and you have my pity. And Bill the Butcher calling John C. Reilly's character a shit-headed meat stick in Gangs of New York. Anyway, apologies again. Probably bad etiquette to write in just before your last email's even been mentioned, but I thought it was too funny not to let you guys know that somewhere out there, someone has just watched Charlie's Angels. Cheers, Michael. George, insults.
I can't think of one. Well, the only one that comes to mind is not a film one, it's such a TV one. It's from Mad Men, and it's where Ginsberg is in the elevator with Don Draper, John Howe, and he says, you despise me, don't you? And Don Draper, just quick as a flash, goes, I don't think about you at all. You despise me, don't you? I don't think about you at all. Then he walks out the elevator. It's just so slickly.
All of mine, the ones that come to mind for me are from Step Brothers. Well, he's like, that's cute. I remember when I had my first beer. And then he goes, ha ha ha, that's so funny. Last time I heard that joke, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur. And it's so like childish. And the best one is when his brother Derek comes for dinner and played. It's the first time I got exposed to Adam Scott, and I was like, who the fuck is Adam Scott? He's amazing. And it's like, he's like the brother who's like successful and makes loads of money, and his younger brother Brennan's the loser. And he's telling this story about fishing. And Dale just comes in, it's like, are bonita fish big? And Dale just stops the story and he goes, what? Yeah, they're pretty big. sorry. And then his son goes, who is this guy, Dad? He goes, I don't know, son. And his dad goes, God damn it, Dale, you interrupt the man in the middle of his story. I was asking about the story. And then his brother just goes, look, guys, let's not get mad at Dale for ruining the story. And possibly the entire evening. So
you know,
good.
actually, when you think about comedy things like that, there's you could Anchorman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I've loads of. I remember when Anchorman 2, when he goes to see, when like she's gone off with Greg Kinnear, who's who's his psychologist, and he goes over there and he's like, I'm a friend here, all good, but he's looking at him like that. And he's like, Ron, it seems like you have a lot of rage. And he goes, I'm about this close to shooting a flare gun at your dick.
Touch my leg.
Yeah.
Now tell me that doesn't feel like a cock. Thank you so much for sending in your emails. As always, we love to hear them. Send them in to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and we will read them out on the show. Okay, it is time to end with some games. We are back with some more quickfire, random, miscellaneous, trivia. This is like the articulate Trivial Pursuit quick card. There is no rhyme or reason to these. You either know them or you don't. They're time limited. You love them. I love them. You guys love them. The TikTok socials are loving them. George, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Name 10 films where the title of the film is the main character's name. You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Renfield, Michael Clayton, Vera Drake, John Carter, Michael Collins, Veronica Guerin, I think it's called, Guerin, the woman Kate Blanchett, count it, Lady Bird, Mad Max Fury Road, Mad Max 2,
Mad Max, his name's not Mad.
Ace Ventura, Austin Powers, The Mask.
Yes.
Did you count The Mask?
Is his name?
No,
Maybe.
no, don't count it, actually.
I think you got it though. You're just about there.
Jesus. Fair enough.
When you mentioned it earlier, I was like, my ears were steaming. I was like, shit.
Would you have accepted
Aladdin.
Superman, Spider-Man, Captain
No,
America?
I'm thinking like a John Carter.
Okay, it has to be
Michael
the
Clayton.
first name, second
Aladdin.
name. Yeah.
Bambi, I would have. No, it's not really a name, is it?
Well, it is the name of the character.
Yeah, that's true. Bambi.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Snow White. There you go. Ready.
Okay, what's the next one?
Okay. You have to name 10 Avengers that disappeared in the Thanos snap. You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Groot, Bucky, Falcon, Mantis, Quill, Strange, Doctor Strange, the Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Nick Fury, Maria Hill. You counting that?
Okay, right.
Hank Pym. Hank Pym. Will you allow that? Will you allow Hank Pym?
Not quite an Avenger, but yeah, I'll
Come
give
on.
it to you. Black Panther.
Of course.
You could have done Rhodey.
Right.
Yeah, Scarlet Witch.
No, Rhodey doesn't disappear. He's in the Endgame.
Sorry, you're right. Rhodey doesn't disappear.
Scarlet Witch, yeah, sure.
Rocket Raccoon. Did you say Rocket?
Rocket stays. He's in Endgame.
You're right. I don't know.
Have you seen the films?
I don't remember. Okay, you ready for the next one? Ready? You have to name 5 Matthew McConaughey films before 2010. You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Dazed and Confused, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Fool's Gold, Sahara,
Yeah.
Tropic Thunder.
Yes. That's
Done.
it. Done.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's not that hard.
No, it's not that hard.
But
But it's
it's
interesting to like
pre-reconnaissance,
pre-reconnaissance, yeah. Ready? You have to name 6 actors that cameo in the Anchorman 2 fight scene.
Okay.
You have 30 seconds. Go.
Will Smith, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Sacha Baron Cohen, Jim Carrey, Marion Cotillard.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Fast. Okay. You have to name 7 Danny Boyle films. You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Shallow Grave, Trainspotting, Sunshine, The Beach, Yesterday, 127 Hours, Slumdog Millionaire,
Yeah.
Steve Jobs.
Lovely. Ready? Last one. Okay. You have to name every Pixar film before 2010. There are 10.
Okay.
You have 45 seconds. Go.
Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Bugs Life, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., The Incredibles, Up, Cars. How many have I got left? Before 2010, so not including Toy Story 3. Finding Nemo, shit. WALL-E, Ratatouille.
Yes, that's it. Woo! 17 seconds to go. You did very well there. And now I have a cast list countdown for you.
To wind down with.
To wind down, just to cool off before you scream. George, are you ready?
Yeah.
This is a cast list countdown. You have to guess the film based on its cast. I'm going to read you the cast members of the film. You have to tell me what film I'm talking about. Are you ready? George, guess the film based on its cast. Ewan Bremner.
Okay.
Jon Voight.
Okay.
Jamie King. Alec Baldwin. Cuba Gooding Jr. Jennifer Garner. Kate Beckinsale.
Whoa.
Josh Hartnett.
Whoa, so early noughties.
Last one. Ben Affleck.
I was going to say Black Hawk Down, but it's not. Hang on. Similar? Pearl Harbor!
Yes.
Whoa.
You were getting there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hang on. So
Yeah.
Jon
Bremner,
Voight-
Jon Voight, Jamie King, you'll know the face off, but you won't recognise. Alec Baldwin, Cuba Gooding Jr.,
Right.
Jennifer Garner, Kate Beckinsale, Josh Hartnett, Ben Affleck.
Right, Jon Voight plays FDR in the chair.
Driving around in Jon Voight's car. Whenever I hear Jon Voight, that's what I hear now.
That's right. And
Directed by Michael Bay.
Alec Baldwin's like, it's going to be a pinprick, but right in the heart.
Yeah,
when they
he's
give
the
him
one
the
who's
third
like
act.
trying to take off in that short window so they don't use enough fuel so they can get to Japan or something.
Yeah. Wow. I had forgotten that. I can't believe when you said, Cuba Gooding Jr. is in
He's
that
like
one.
the guy who boxes. He's a Navy. Yeah.
And Ewan Bremner, he's
He's in that.
speak.
He's got like a stutter. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That film's out there. It exists.
It's terrible.
It's I think I enjoyed it at the time.
You know what? I say it's terrible, but I got to obey my 5-year rule. I haven't seen that in many years.
You're too right.
But isn't it maybe
It's long, I bet as well.
Did you ever see Midway?
No.
Michael Bay did Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Like Roland Emmerich also likes to blow stuff up. Roland Emmerich made Midway. The Battle of Midway was one of the most one of the biggest naval battles and air battles of the World War II, of the Pacific Theatre.
Yeah.
And he made that, and it had, you know what? I'm not going to tell you who had edited it because I'll do it as a cast as countdown at some point.
Amazing.
Many weeks from now, when you've forgotten this film. Thank you, James.
Just before my camera runs out of battery, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. If you've made it here, you're our biggest fans. Thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 72 of Pulp Kitchen. Stay tuned for episode 73, which will be on Wednesday next week.
And don't forget, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and just share us and sing us from the rooftops and, help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope. Your support keeps this podcast going and it means a lot to us. Thank you so much. So just keep doing your thing. Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week.